All right, welcome back to Berry and Birding, and it's an exciting time of year in late summer right now. It's late July here, and it's shorebird season. So lots of shorebirds moving through. Some of the first ones are the large ones, including these American Avocets, which, in my opinion, are some of the most striking shorebirds that we get. Yeah,
There's no two ways around it that these are some of the things that the big shorebirds are charismatic, and these are no different. There's nothing that looks like these.
yeah. I run into a lot of people who, when they run into these on the beach, they're kind of shocked that these are, you know, in America. They didn't realize that these were, local birds that are here.
This will get a layperson's attention.
Yeah.
And you can see here with these birds, you can see that middle one. With its the middle one has more of an upturn to the bill. You can actually sex these things. That the female has a more upturned bill. The male's bill is straighter.
Yeah, and these are adults, right? Because of they've still got quite a bit of orange coloration right now.
Yeah, you can see that one that's preening right now has a little bit of gray coming in the forehead. So you can see that it's starting to get a little bit of winter plumage, but these are still breeding adults. The thinking is a lot of these ones that show up in kind of the early part of summer may have been ones that breeding didn't go quite as well as they'd hoped, and may not have successfully raised chicks and may have bailed. But at the same time, you don't really see a mix of adults and young during the later year. Once we're just down to young.
Yeah, and this is a bird, to your point, that started showing up a couple weeks ago, and can show up all the way. I think I was looking into September and maybe even early October.
Yeah, we can find them in the fall, but not as much as we do right now.
Sure.
Interesting thing about how these guys feed, that if the in on the breeding areas where they're feeding in loose kind of muddy prairie potholes, they'll sweep that bill back and forth, which you've mentioned, Josh. You've seen them do a few times down in New Buffalo.
Yeah, it's kind of neat. It doesn't happen very often, but there's been a couple times when they're, kind of all feed together, which is kind of cool, just to kind of see them sweeping that bill back and forth under the shallow water. And actually, some of them I mentioned to another bird the other day seemed like they were kind of almost doing a little fallow rope dash, kind of trying to stir things up as well.
Yeah, apparently these will actually kind of associate with Wilson's phalarope out in the prairies, since they both have kind of apparently similar feeding styles. Here along Tuscarora and kind of the other areas of southwest Michigan, when you see them along the lakefront, they do less of the scything. One article I read was suggesting that either they have trouble figuring out what is a grade of sand and what is a small prey item, or they're just worried about chewing up their bill, using it, sweeping it back and forth in the sand. So they tend to kind of pick at items more when you see them right at water's edge.
Yeah, just a super cool bird, always a treat to see. One thing that kind of stands out to me too that I kind of realized recently was how blue the legs are. If you look at even these individuals, they kind of stand out as like almost a cobalt blue.
Yeah, and it kind of they share that with willets. We'll talk about that in a future video. But for whatever reason, yeah, a lot of the big shorebirds have, at least these two, have those blue-gray, pretty intensely colored legs. Well, that's it for American Avocet. Let's get out and find these birds.
All right, like, comment, subscribe for more content.